The roar of engines echoed down the quiet country road, a steady rumble like distant thunder rolling across the sleepy afternoon. Dust rose behind 6 black motorcycles as they cruised past golden fields shimmering under the noonday sun. At the front rode Cole Maddox, a tall man with a scar running down his cheek, a mark of a past he didn't talk about. To most townsfolk, Cole and his crew were nothing but troubled leather jackets, tattoos, and that bad boy silence that made others cross the street when they approached. But behind those rough exteriors were men who'd seen enough of life's cruelty to know when to stand against it. They had no destination that day, just the road and the wind, until everything changed in a single, heart-wrenching moment. Out of nowhere, a small figure stumbled into the middle of the road, waving her tiny arms and crying out, her voice breaking with panic. The bikers screeched their brakes, tires skidding on gravel. Cole's bike stopped just in time, barely a few feet from the trembling child. She couldn't have been more than 7, her pink dress torn, one shoe missing, and her little face streaked with dirt and tears. "Please, please help!" she screamed, her voice trembling with terror. "They're beating my mama!" For a second, the world fell silent. Even the wind seemed to pause. The bikers exchanged quick, sharp looks. Cole's jaw tightened. Without a word, he swung his leg off the bike and knelt before her. "Where's sweetheart?" he asked, his voice low but urgent. She pointed down a dirt path leading toward a cluster of small, worn-down houses in the distance. "There! In the blue house! Please hurry!" "They'll kill her." And that was all it took. Cole turned to his crew. "Tank Hawk Red, let's move." The engines roared back to life like a call to war. Before the story continues, if you believe kindness and courage can still change lives, hit that like button, share this video, and subscribe to Kindness Journal. Let's keep stories of humanity alive. The dirt road kicked up clouds as the bikers tore toward the houses. The girl, whose name they later learned was Maya, clung to Cole's jacket as he drove, her tiny hands gripping tightly around his waist. When they reached the house, a small, peeling structure with a rusted roof, they could already hear it shouting, crashing, and a woman's desperate sobs. Cole didn't hesitate. He slammed the kickstand down and rushed toward the front porch. Inside, chaos reigned. A man reeking of alcohol was hurling plates across the room, his face twisted with rage. A woman lay on the floor, shielding her face with her arms as he raised a fist again. Cole grabbed the man's arm mid-swing, stopping the blow inches from her face. The man turned furious, but froze when he saw who was holding him. "Who the hell are you?" he spat. Cole's grip tightened, his voice calm but deadly. "The last person you'll ever raise your hand in front of again." The man tried to shove him, but Tank, a mountain of muscle with tattoos crawling up his neck, stepped in and grabbed him by the collar, dragging him away like a rag doll. The others spread through the room, making sure no one else was inside. The woman on the floor, Sarah, as they later learned, tried to sit up, blood trickling from her lip. Her eyes were wide with shock and fear. When she saw Maya run toward her, she broke down, clutching her daughter tight, sobbing uncontrollably. Cole crouched down beside them. "You're safe now," he said softly. Sarah looked up at him, still shaking. He wouldn't stop. "I tried to leave, but he said he'd find me." Cole's eyes hardened. He'd seen this before, too many times. The kind of fear that turns people silent, that convinces them there's no way out. But he also knew the power of one act of courage to change everything. "Not anymore," he said. "He's done hurting you." Outside, the sound of police sirens began to wail in the distance. Hawk had already called them. When the officers arrived, the bikers stepped aside without a word. The abusive man screamed and cursed as he was handcuffed and dragged into the patrol car. The neighbors peeked through their curtains, whispering, staring at the strange sight of a group of bikers standing protectively around a crying woman and her child. When the commotion settled, Cole turned to leave, but Sarah called out. "Wait," she said, her voice trembling. Why did you help us?" Cole looked at her for a long moment before answering. "Because someone once helped me when I didn't deserve it," he said, "and I never forgot what that felt like." Then he walked back to his bike. Over the next few days, Cole couldn't shake the image of that little girl's tear-streaked face. The club wasn't exactly known for charity work. They were a brotherhood forged from broken lives, ex-soldiers, men who'd lost their way. But that moment had stirred something inside all of them. They found out that Sarah worked part-time at a diner in town, struggling to pay rent after her husband drained their savings. The landlord was threatening eviction. When Cole heard that, he gathered his crew. "Boys," he said with a grin, "looks like we've got some work to do." The next morning, the roar of engines returned, this time not for rescue, but redemption. The bikers rolled into town, stopping right outside the diner. When Sarah stepped outside, wiping her hands on her apron, she froze. Cole handed her an envelope. "This should cover your rent for a few months," he said. "And there's a number in there, a friend of mine who can get you a better job at the garage. No strings." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. I can't take this," she whispered. "Yes, you can," Cole replied. "You already paid for it. With your courage." Word spread quickly through the town. The same bikers everyone used to avoid were now being called heroes. People who had once crossed the street to avoid them now stopped to thank them. And Maya, that brave little girl, began waiting every afternoon at the edge of her yard, just to wave when she heard the motorcycles pass by. But for Cole, it wasn't about recognition. One night, as he sat alone on his porch under the soft glow of the setting sun, he thought about his own mother. He remembered being a scared little boy hiding in a closet, hearing the same sounds Maya had: shouts, crashes, and tears. No one came for them then. But now, years later, he'd had the chance to be the person he once wished for. And that made all the difference. A few weeks later, Sarah and Maya stopped by the bikers' clubhouse. Not the rowdy place most people imagined, but a simple old barn filled with laughter, tools, and the smell of engine oil. Maya ran up to Cole holding a drawing. It was crude but beautiful: 6 motorcycles lined up under a bright sun, and a woman and child standing beside them smiling. "I made this for you," she said shyly. Cole took it carefully, his rough hands trembling just a little. "Thank you, kiddo. This means more than you know." Sarah smiled, her eyes glistening. "You saved us, Cole. You didn't even know us, but you changed our lives." Cole shook his head. "You did that yourself when you decided not to give up." The room went quiet for a moment. Then Tank broke the silence with a grin. "All right, kid," he said to Maya. "You ever need a ride? You got 6 uncles now." Everyone laughed. Real, warm laughter that filled the dusty old barn with something it hadn't felt in a long time: peace. 2 months passed, and the bikers kept riding, not looking for trouble, but for chances to make things right where they could. They started calling themselves the Road Guardians, a name Maya had chosen. The logo, a winged heart surrounded by a gear, was painted proudly on their jackets. They didn't seek fame, but somehow their story spread far beyond that small town. People began sending letters, thanking them for restoring a little faith in humanity. And every time Cole received one of those letters, he'd think of that day. The day a little girl ran crying into the road and changed everything. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Journal. Every click helps us spread more stories that remind the world that compassion is strength. Before the video ends, we'd love to hear from you in the comments. What do you think true courage looks like? Because sometimes it's not found in fists or fury, but in the quiet bravery of a child asking strangers to save the person she loves most, and in the hearts of those strangers who decide to answer.